Good evening to everyone, and welcome from my heart. Thank you, Professor Marshall. I thank the Shire Foundation for organizing in this lovely Bologna of ours the Interfaith G20, the Interreligious World Forum, and thank you to all the personalities who have participated and who will, representing communities and institutions from around the world. I thank the civil, religious, and academic representatives in this important moment of dialogue. We are faced with challenges that no one can face alone. The pandemic which has hit the world has shown how evanescent is the concept of border. It has taught us that the good of others is our own good, and that there's greater need for international cooperation, more solidarity, more dialogue, beginning with vaccines. Let's not forget to help poorer countries to have access to this, because we will get out of this only together. The pandemic is intertwined with other challenges of all people, the increase of global inequalities that create social injustice and rage, which able manipulators often transform into intolerance towards the other. For this reason, there's a great need for interreligious and intercultural dialogue, because diffidence must be replaced by reciprocal knowledge, and so that this may allow for a universal message of peace may be spread against fundamentalism of all kind. Interreligious and intercultural dialogue is a powerful push towards the brotherhood and sisterhood of people. I would like to say that I agree with the appeal that started here to erase the word race from constitutions, which has been done in some other countries, because even in non-discriminating contexts, the word race appears an implicit recognition of the existence of different races, whereas we all belong to the same race, the human race. I agree with Liliana Segre, an Italian senator, when she says that the elimination of the word race is an excellent signal against the racism which fills our societies, which also pushes to wars that we have all around the world. We are very anxious about what's happening now in Afghanistan, and which leads to a deep reflection on politics and the responsibilities of the West and the European Union. It was a military but also a moral retreat, said Vincenzo Amendola from here. What has happened has shown that it's impossible to export democracy, especially not with weapons. And in order to make the peace message starting from Bologna, to make it concrete, we must make an appeal to stop the sale of arms to those countries that are involved in conflicts and that don't respect human rights. There was in the region Emilia, Romagna, a great transversal effort to give hospitality to those escaping from these terrible issues. And I hope that in the future this transversal help will be maintained. There is need for humanitarian cultures and for a deeper welcoming and help towards all people, especially those who are facing special difficulties. We are alongside Afghan women who are demonstrating for their rights, as well as Patrick Zaki, who has been illegitimately held in Egyptian prisons since February of 2020, and who just today faced the first hearing of an unfair trial. And we will continue to ask for his freedom. In order to build a more just world, we must unite our efforts as institutions, lay communities and religious ones, in fighting all inequalities, social ones, territorial ones. But in this particular gathering, let me dedicate a word, and I should do it as a woman. Let me also mention gender inequalities, which hit particularly women and LGBTQE+ communities. And the hope is that teaching your dialogue as a constant exercise, that this should also promote further advancements towards the recognition of all people. Here, there are some women, but there are not all that many of us, because in all places of decision we are underrepresented. And so we have a responsibility to use our voice also for the rights of others, and to remove together the obstacles which patriarchal cultures put before full emancipation, economic, social, and cultural of women, which is in the interest of all communities. It was important for me to say that among the many new challenges of the planet is the climate, and that an interreligious and intercultural dialogue can discuss what we can do together to find a better balance on this planet that we inhabit and that we have on loan and that we will have to give back to future generations. The encyclical Laudato Si of Pope Francis, and I'm saying this as a layperson, not a Catholic, is a step that shows the awareness that social justice and environmental justice are connected with each other, and the dialogue among religions can be a stimulation to work together on action and sensitization about climate. I conclude by saying that pluralism must be defended as a value added to our community and an essential part of democracy. From your commitment to dialogue, the institutions will derive lessons on the essential need for listening, to devise public policies that reflect the different needs that the communities and our territories express. In this sense, we have to make greater efforts on social inclusion, and we ask the Italian Parliament again to modify the law on citizenship so as to recognize fully the rights of the many girls and boys that were born and grew up in this country and are part of our community. I conclude by mentioning the words of Raymond Panicard, a famous philosopher and theologist whom you know well, who considered dialogue an instrument to know each other, and often used the metaphor of a window through which each one of us looks at the world by seeing just a part of it through one's point of view. But our reciprocal dialogue allows us to include and enrich our point of view with that of others and broaden that window. But we must have an awareness that there is no moral superiority and that each point of view is a partial one and not a universal one. And so here we are looking at each other on an even floor, aware that each one of us brings to this dialogue a point of view that may enrich that of others, but that only putting them together in common respect, we will see the complexity of the world and we will be able together to build a better world. Thank you very much.